don't want my father to come to my wedding. My daughter, whom I've struggled a lot and poured love into raise, is getting married. It was good news that suddenly came into my mundane daily life. However, my daughter says not to come to the ceremony. I've raised her with love, but to be treated like this, I can't afford to show mercy anymore. I'll corner her completely. I'm confident holding on to an unbelievable truth. I am Noah. I work at a major corporation while working hard for my family every day. I don't have any particular pleasure, but I'm leading a fairly comfortable life. One day, good news arrived in my ordinary days. It was about my daughter Maria getting married. But my relationship with Maria is a bit complicated. Maria is my wife Ava's daughter from a previous relationship, so there is no blood connection between us. She's not my biological daughter. Nice to meet you. I'll be in your care from today. Dad. Nice to meet you too, Maria, but you don't have to force yourself to call me Dad. I'm sorry, but Mom... Call me Dad when you see me as your real father. Until then, call me Uncle or Brother, whatever you like. Okay, then I'll call you Uncle. Uncle as expected. And after half a year, Maria started calling me Dad. I was so happy I couldn't stop my tears. My married life with my wife Ava was going well. We were blessed with a cute daughter, and we were having happy days. But that happiness did not last forever. It was a day when Maria became a junior high school student. On a holiday morning, I went to the living room and found Maria watching TV alone. Come to think of it, I hadn't spent much time with Maria recently, so I tried to talk to her, keeping a little distance. This show seems to be popular among young people. Is it trending at school? I wonder. You wonder. Well, it's a holiday. Why don't we go out for lunch together for the first time in a while? What? I heard there's a new restaurant nearby that's good. How about it? There's no way I'm going, obviously. Huh? My daughter left the living room looking annoyed. Has she ever treated me this way before? I can't hide my confusion at my daughter's attitude. Did I do something to Maria? No, that can't be. Maybe she was just in a bad mood. Those days happen. That's what I thought, but Maria's attitude remained cold even the following day. I was worried, so I decided to consult with my wife. Hey Ava, I feel like Mariana doesn't like me. Did I do something wrong? What all of a sudden? Do you have any idea what it could be? No, recently? Maybe since she became junior high school student, she's been strangely aggressive or cold. Really? She's not like that with me. Is it just me? Did I do something that Maria didn't like? My wife showed a little bit of thought when I said that, and then she said something as if she had thought of something. Honey, I'm sure it's just adolescence. Adolescence? Yes, puberty and adolescence have started at the same time. It's not unusual. She'll be back to normal soon. If that's the case, it's okay. Is it just a typical behavior for her age? Especially for girls, they seem to be concerned about their father's attitude. It's easier not to worry about it. I see. Adolescence, huh? Convinced by my wife, I carelessly thought that our relationship would return to normal over time. However, that did not happen. A year later, even my wife began to treat me coldly. Honey, you smell so bad lately. Are you taking a bath properly? Huh? I'm taking a bath properly. I'm the last one in, so I cleaned up the bathroom before I get out. It's just awful to use the same bath as someone as dirty as you. After that, my wife turned to our daughter, who was in the same room, and said, Maria, you think so too, don't you? The daughter nodded with a truly uncomfortable look on her face. Exactly, you smell and you're dirty, so I don't want you to come near me. And don't wash your underwear with mine. I agree. I don't want that either. Why do I have to share the same room with him? I feel sick just thinking about breathing the same air. I know, right? Being around him makes me feel ill. How about we go shopping together from now on? Sounds good. Let's go. I love you, Mom. We're going shopping. While we're out, you clean and do the laundry. Make sure everything is finished. With those words, they left. After that day, every time going out, it was just my wife and daughter. They must spoke ill of me. There were days when my stylishly dressed wife would sneak out alone. I could not even imagine what or where she was doing. Such days continued for several years. Then when Maria was 25 years old, one day, my daughter suddenly started talking to me. Dad, I'm getting married. I was surprised at the sudden announcement, as I did not even know she had a boyfriend. My daughter has reached the age of marriage. I looked back on the days I spent with Maria with deep emotion. Is that so? Congratulations on your marriage. What is your partner like? Why do I have to tell you? It's none of your business. Despite my daughter's still cold attitude, I spoke to her with confusion. None of my business. I'm your parent. Isn't there going to be a meeting between the parents? I told him that my father is busy with work. Why? I, as your father, want to properly greet your partner. I'm not planning to invite you to the wedding. Huh? I'm not planning to invite you to the wedding. My daughter's words spin around in my head. That can't be. I'm supposed to be her father, right? Controlling my agitation, I said to Maria, What do you mean? Where does a father not attend his daughter's wedding? What's that? It's hilarious. I don't want to introduce an old man like you as my father. How can you say that? Haven't we been living together as a family until now? Enough, it's disgusting. Even though you're not my real father, you act all high and mighty. Overwhelmed by my daughter's words, I can't speak. Then my wife opens her mouth. That's right, you're nothing more than an ATM for us. Don't act all important. Eh? An ATM? What? You didn't know? The only reason I married you is because you had a high income. That can't be. You're lying, right? We've been living together as a couple for 20 years, haven't we? Don't say disgusting things. Yes, Maria's fiancé has a higher income than you. If Maria gets married, I won't need to be with you anymore. What does that mean? You only thought of me as a cash cow? That's why we don't need you anymore. And if someone like you comes to the wedding, it will lower Maria's reputation. So please don't come to the ceremony under any circumstances. Suddenly confronted with the truth, I was at a loss for words. I fled the room and holed up on my own. From that day on, their attitude towards me became increasingly harsh. Unable to bear their gaze as if they were looking at something dirty, I became afraid to even face them. I spent less time at home, and then one day, while I was usually holed up in my room, I heard my daughter and wife talking. Hey Mom, he's holed up in his room again. It's gross. Well, that's fine. It's better if he stays out of sight. Yeah, you're right. It's refreshing not to have to see his face. He's not coming to the wedding, is he? I made it very clear, so there's no problem. As long as that's the case. By the way, is the other dad's schedule okay? Will he be able to come? I was shocked by the conversation I overheard. Another dad? Is a father other than me? I was confused. Then my wife said something unthinkable. No need to worry. I told him to make sure he has time. But I'm so glad. The real dad will be able to attend the wedding. I don't remember much about Dad, but I'm so happy to see him after several years. I'm sure he'll be overjoyed about my marriage. Of course he will. It's his blood-related family getting married. Of course he'll be happy. Indeed, even that guy with no blood connection to us was stupidly happy. It's just absurd. Plus, we can expect a nice gift from this dad. Speaking of which, he succeeded in starting his own company, hasn't he? That's amazing. He was even featured in an online article. I saw it. I was surprised when I met him last time. He was so handsome, just like an actor. Totally the opposite of that bald and chubby guy. Really, the difference is so big it's pitiful. I love to meet up with my real dad once in a while from now on. In that moment, my mind went blank. I see that's what it was. They were making sure I didn't come to the ceremony to invite the real father. Furthermore, it seems they had been in frequent contact with him without my knowledge. Enough. If they're going to do that, I have my own plans. In this way, I decided to get back at them to vent my resentment for their dismissive treatment, to thoroughly investigate them. I requested an investigation and decided to confront them once the results were finalized. I won't go to the wedding, and I've decided to move out of this house. My daughter said, "Really?" She seemed happy and even jumped for joy. I'll move out on the day of the wedding, which is in 2 weeks, right? I thought you were a hopeless old creep, but I'm glad you turned out to be understanding. It seemed that my wife and daughter had been looking forward to my departure. They were almost jumping with joy. Ignoring them, I promptly began to pack. On the day of the wedding, as I was moving my belongings to the car and about to leave, my wife and daughter approached me, grinning from ear to ear. "You are leaving and it's Maria's wedding. What a joyous day it is." "Indeed, the best day ever." "I'm leaving as you wished. Isn't that enough?" "What's with that attitude? We're just trying to say goodbye. Make sure you file the divorce papers properly." "Right, you're unpleasant to the very end. Just go already." "Understood. See you." Ignoring the two smiling faces, I got into my car. I would probably never return to this house. And then, a few hours later, as I was relaxing in my newly rented apartment, I received a call from someone asking, "Could you come to the wedding immediately?" I had somewhat expected this, but I didn't want to see my wife and daughter. However, this was the chance for the revenge I had been waiting for. "Alright, let's go." I got up, got back in my car, and headed to the wedding venue. Upon arriving, I could hear some sort of dispute. "A sudden cancellation for the engagement? This is unbelievable. This can't be happening. You have to explain properly or we can't accept this." Echoing the venue, I could hear my daughter's angry voice. I quietly opened the door to see my wife and daughter in a wedding dress. The man who will be her fiancé, his parents and grandparents, and a man I'd never seen before. He must be the real dad. When I entered the room, my wife and daughter noticed me and made surprised faces. "Why are you here?" "Because I was invited." "Invited? Who would invite you?" "I was invited by your fiancé's grandfather." Yes, the person who called me was my daughter's fiancé's grandfather. He was someone who had treated me very well when I just started working at my company. I've been indebted to Mr. James for a long time, and we still keep in touch a few times a year. I had no idea that your fiancé was Mr. James' grandson. "No way! That doesn't make any sense. There's no way there's a connection like that. You're lying, right?" Then James, who had been silent until now, opened his mouth. "Well, I was surprised at first too. When I heard that Noah's daughter was getting married, and it was at the same time as my own grandson, I ended up asking a lot of questions. Then it turned out to be my grandson's fiancé. It seems like there's some kind of connection with Noah after all." That's... Ignoring his daughter who was looking pale, James continued to speak. "Apparently, you told Noah not to come to the wedding. So I informed my grandson of the circumstances in advance. Ultimately, it's up to my grandson to make the final decision. But I wanted him to think carefully about the person he was going to marry again. Such a thing is... Then the daughter's fiancé began to speak. Yes, I heard about you from my grandfather in advance, but I believed in you. If you had invited the man who raised you to the wedding, I would have married you as planned. However, the man who was here was someone even my grandfather didn't know. Glancing at the other father, the fiancé continued. Therefore, I will not marry you. I don't want to marry a woman who treats the man who raised her with such disrespect. I cancel the engagement. Annul the engagement? At the groom's words, Maria's face grew even paler. Don't say things like that, please. Not an annulment. I've already made up my mind. I never thought you would disregard your family. That's not true. After all, this man isn't family. This man isn't family? What are you talking about after being raised by him for 20 years? Who do you think made it possible for you to live until now? That's too much. That's cruel. Pronounced with an annulment, Maria breaks down crying loudly. At that point, her mother tries to explain and starts making excuses. Wait a minute, please. The man who came today is Maria's biological father. Don't you think it's only proper to invite the real father to the wedding? Amid the silence, I reluctantly spoke. I married you and became Maria's father. Sure, there wasn't a blood connection, but I still raised her as if she were my own daughter. So what? It's a wedding. Isn't it better to have a real father who seems more family-like come? That might be true. But that will be if the man over there was truly Maria's biological father. When the real father was called out, the man was shaking and turned his eyes away from me. What are you talking about? He is Maria's true father by blood. With a smile, I chuckled at my wife, who explained in a flustered manner. Oh, is that so? That's strange, isn't it? What do you mean? I was curious, so I had a detective agency look into it. Turns out, the man was just your affair partner. That's not true. It seems that even our daughter didn't know this truth, and she begins to question her mother. What does this mean? That's not true. Everyone, this man is really Maria's father. Please don't misunderstand. Wait a minute, Mom. You told me that this man was my real father. Maria! My memories with my real father aren't faint from when I was little. But I still vaguely remember his face. Because he looked like the father in my memories, I believed that he was my real father. I was so happy to finally meet him. Yet he's a complete stranger, and moreover, just Mom's affair partner. He's not just an affair partner. Do you have proof? Do you? If you want proof, I have it right here. I pulled an envelope from my bag and thrust its contents forward. Inside, there were several photographs proving my wife's affair with the man. What is this? How did you get this? I had it investigated by a detective agency. Not only did you lie to your real daughter, but you were also having an affair. You're the worst. No, that's not. Please, wait, forgive me. What? After all the ridicule and cold treatment you gave me, do you think I would forgive you? I thought we were a real family, and I've raised our daughter with that belief. There's no way I can forgive such a betrayal. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize so. An apology now doesn't solve anything. I will never forgive you two. I will make sure to demand compensations for my suffering. How dare you try to make yourselves happy at my expense? Live with the regret of what you've done. With that, I left the wedding venue. Afterward, my daughter was formally disengaged, and rumors spread among our mutual friends. It seems she's now estranged from her once close friends. The rumors about my daughter also spread at her company, and feeling uncomfortable, she decided to resign voluntarily. Of course, I divorced my wife Ava. Since there was solid evidence of her affair, she had no choice but to accept. When I demanded compensation from my ex-wife and her affair partner, the latter transferred the money to me and disappeared from her life. She planned to remarry for financial support, but after failing, she seems to be working part-time jobs from morning to night. Of course, my daughter rejected the ex-wife who had deceived her. This is how my family fell apart. In the end, those who didn't value their family did not find happiness. It's what they call poetic justice. And as for me, without a wife and daughter, and being able to